Yun Sung, you're muted if you're speaking to me.
Oh, is the conclusion like in your debate?
Well,
Or
yes and no.
separate?
The conclusion's not included anymore as like a separate section. So in your debate, when you have your debating time for those 3 minutes, you should include a summary, like a conclusion of what you've spoken about. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
My connection is weak, like very, very weak.
That's okay. I think Jihu is also having issues. If your connection's weak, you can turn off your camera. Did you get that? Okay. So what we'll do is we shall begin now. Connection issues, we're just gonna sort of work around them, okay? So first of all, Jihu, are you there? Okay. Jihu?
Oh, yes.
Turn off your cameras if you're having bad connection.
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to be going first. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So you may begin your reading.
15 states legally permit corporal punishment in K-12 schools, while 28 states ban the practice. Corporal punishment is defined as a physical punishment and a punishment that involves hitting someone. In K-12 schools, corporal punishment, often spanking, with either a hand or paddle, or striking a student across his or her hand with a ruler or a leather strap. More extreme instances, including the use of a chemical spray and taser, have also been recorded by U.S. schools. In 2014, 94% of parents with children 3 or 4 years old reported that they had spanked their child within the past year, and 76% of men and 75% of women agreed with the statement. A child sometimes needs a good spanking. The debate over corporal punishment, especially in schools, remains vigorous.
Okay. Thank you. And now, Hongyun.
"15 states legally permit corporal punishment in K-12 schools, while 20 states ban the practice. Corporal punishment is defined as a physical punishment and a punishment that involves hitting someone. In K-12 schools, corporal punishment is often spanking with either a hand or a paddle, or striking a student across his or her hand with a ruler or a leather strap. More extreme instances, including the use of a chemical spray and a taser, have also been recorded by U.S. schools. In 2014, 94% of parents with children 3 to 4 years old reported that they had spanked their children within the past year, and 76% of men and 65% of women agreed with the statement. Children sometimes need a good spanking. The debate on corporal punishment, especially in schools, remains vigorous.
Okay, thank you. Now, Hyun Sung.
15 states legally permit corporal punishment in K-12 schools, while 28 states ban the practice. Corporal punishment is defined as physical punishment and a punishment that involves hitting someone. In K-12 schools, corporal punishment is often spanking with either a hand or paddle, or striking a student across his or her hand with a ruler or leather strap. More extreme instances, including the use of chemical spray and taser, have also been recorded by U.S. schools. In 2014, 94% of parents with children 3 to 4 years old reported that they had spanked their child within the past year, and 76% of men and 65% of women agreed with the statement, a child sometimes needs a good spanking. The debate over corporal punishment, especially in schools, remain vigorous.
Okay. And finally, for the reading, J.
15 states legally permit corporal punishment in K-12 schools, while 28 states ban the practice. Corporal punishment is defined as a physical punishment and a punishment that involves hitting someone. In K-12 schools, corporal punishment is often spanking with either a hand or paddle, or striking a student across his or her hand with a ruler or a leather strap. More extreme instances, including the use of a chemical spray and taser, have also been recorded by U.S. schools. In 2014, 94% of parents with children 3 to 4 years old reported that they had spanked their child within the past year, and 76% of men and 65% of men agreed with the statement, a child sometimes needs a good spanking. The debate over corporal punishment, especially in schools, remains vigorous.
Okay. Now, moving on to the debate, Jihu.
Do I start now?
Yeah, you can start.
This statement has been a question in many people's minds for many years. However, there are some clear reasons that these punishments should be used in schools. Firstly, these punishments could make students behave more. Teachers wouldn't punish a student with no reason. The reason why students get punishments is that the student did something wrong and had done something bad. By using these corporal punishments, students may realize the importance not to do something bad. These could also help students understand that there should be punishments and when you did something wrong. Other than these, students will also be able to know how to control themselves. As seen, children raised by soft parents grow up disrespectful. Therefore, at least in school, they must learn proper education about their characters and personalities. Also, people should know that during these punishments, it doesn't teach what to do bad, but it teaches discipline. Next, it is that corporal punishments are a very quick punishment. Children often choose to get these type of punishment as it is very quick, unlike other detentions with which they will have to keep up a lot of time. Also, these could help students not to miss their next classes or their time to play during recess for younger students. Many detentions, except for corporal, are now usually such things as staying back in recess and 2 days suspension, etc. Perhaps the students will perform more of a quick smack. To conclude, I believe that corporal punishments are a great tool to discipline unruly children. Thank you.
Okay. Hongyan, you can begin your debate.
Corporal punishment has been banned in U.S. prisons and military training. Animals are protected from the same sort of punishment in every state. So I strongly believe that corporal punishment should not be used in K-12 schools. Firstly, corporal punishment is an inappropriate punishment that harms the education of children. Students who experience corporal punishment in kindergarten are more likely to have a lower scores in some grades at a certain grade. According to the National Women's Law Center, harsh physical punishment do not improve students in school behavior or academic performance. In addition, corporal punishment creates an unsafe and violent school environment. Students who experiences corporal punishment are more likely to hit or use violence against people in order to get their will. The American Academy pediatrics say corporal punishment may contribute to disruptive and violent student behavior. An American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry states corporal punishment signals to the child that a way to settle interpersonal conflict is to use physical force and inflict pain. Such children may in turn resort to such behavior themselves. Lastly, like bullying, corporal punishment can inflict long-lasting physical and mental harm on students. Children who experiences corporal punishment are more likely to relate forms of violence with power, therefore are more likely to be a bully or abuse a partner. A study has shown that children who were physically punished were more likely to have problems with aggression and attention. Also, studies have shown that frequent use of corporal punishment leads to a higher risk of anxiety, depression, substance abuse, stress, and other mental health concerns. Children who experiences corporal punishments are more likely to relate forms of violence with power and are more likely to be a bully or abuse a partner. In conclusion, I believe that corporal punishment should not be used in K-12 schools. Corporal punishment can inflict long-lasting physical and mental harm on students. Corporal punishment can inflict long-lasting, and it is an inappropriate punishment that harms the education of students.
You've finished?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move into Yun Sung.
Corporal punishment is when a person is punished physically, such as punching, spanking, and is intended to give pain to the other person. Positively, I believe that corporal punishment should be used in K-12 schools. I have two reasons to support the statement. First of all, this method effectively works. It has been scientifically proven that the psychological and physical immediacy of short, sharp shock is simply the most powerful way to affect pupils' behavior in some circumstances. There was once a very rude child to everyone in my neighborhood. Shockingly, one day he turned into a good boy. Then my mother explained about all the history that has changed his delinquent acts after his parents kept their anger beneath their foreheads, and finally their parents exploded because he kept replying rudely to his parents. My second point is that corporal punishment is a better way to control someone's impolite behaviors than suspension or detention. It is a better punishment because it is quick and does not disturb the children's studies, since it is not like missing a school day or anything. Also, parents at home usually spank children, So what is really the big difference? Plus, do you agree that school is our second home? Additionally, I propose to declare a sentence of several months detention in a young offender institution if a secondary and upper grade pupils harm their teacher. Teachers who are eager to teach academic knowledge and discipline should be authorized by calling police powers of arrest and detention at schools. If educational personnel officially get empowered their right as an educator by governments, it is easily to be supposed that the rate of juvenile delinquency also decreased than before. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. So, and finally, JE, you can go.
The reasons why, sorry, the reasons why I object in corporal punishment in schools are on traumas and ineffective cases, as well as having a more effective solution to naughty pupils. First, physical punishments in schools will lead to a very severe shock and upsetting experience, which may cause psychological damage, including unwelcoming memories. As a child receives corporal punishment, the pain and humiliation would remain in his or her memories for a lifetime. According to research, violent education will bring up everlasting, vivid pain even after a period of time. The coach hit me so hard I felt nauseous at my stomach. A girl in Mississippi who was paddled in 6th grade stated, as a result to paddling or spanking, the pain will turn out seizing and burning most immediately. Majority of graduates who have encountered corporal punishments could describe the moment as if it happened just now. They were all the more afraid to stand up and defend themselves as they would receive much worse results. Next, I think that physical punishments do not bring much effect to the child, as it just brings fear and hurtful memories. My perspective is that corporal punishment would turn out totally disadvantageous. The students would only be thinking and feeling upset on the pain and to the teacher who hits his or herself, not repenting in their wrong acts. Corporal punishment is as humiliating for him who gives it as for him who receives it. It is ineffective besides. Neither shame or physical pain have any other effect than a hardening one. Ellen Key, a feminist writer who passed away in April 1926, quoted on corporal punishment. I do agree on this quote, for why I disagree in the topic, as it says the definite truth. Corporal punishment will only bring pain, not any lessons or advantages that is truly taught. Last is a fact. Applying the boundary-based discipline instead of physical punishments will turn out more effective than corporal punishment. Boundary-based discipline is one of the educational strategies which involve establishing clear limits that show kids what they are allowed to do and what is out of bounds, as well as teaching them the consequences and results of acting out of bounds. Therefore, students will behave when they feel safe by school regulations, reminded of the consequences when breaking school rules. To conclude, I disagree to corporal punishment in K-12 schools from the following reasons stated above, which are traumas, ineffective results, as well as having a better solution to this problem. Instead, schools need to guarantee providing an institutional strategy for teachers to control their students who are not easily handled by just soft voices, such as boundary-based discipline. Eventually, behavior problems will reduce when using boundary-based discipline method. Thank you.
Okay, that was good. All right, this is a good one. It's a good week. So, did you guys Have a nice break. Last week we didn't do this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys on holiday?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you prefer this layout to having a reading first? Everyone had the chance to do some reading. I think it was quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with Yun Sung. I haven't heard him read before, so I'll evaluate that first. So I think your reading was really good. You have always had a quite clear and well spoken voice on you, and you pronounce things really well. So your reading was very smooth.
Thank you.
I think when you see a comma, you need to breathe. That's going to be your main goal. So
Okay.
think of a comma as a breathe point,
Okay.
and think of a full stop as a bigger breathe point, because then it can break out the sentences a bit better. And they're there for a reason. They're there to make sure that the sentence flows correctly and it gets read well.
Okay.
Other than that, your speech is really good.
Thank you.
We'll look at your debate. Really good opening. I like listening to that, explaining what the topic is about. You explained what corporal punishment is, which gives the listeners an idea of what the topic is about, really. And then the let's take. You used a good opening story and a nice change in tone when you tried to explain a different aspect of it. Had great flow, and I was just a little sad that it was a bit on the short side. You could have expanded a bit more, maybe. But overall, the debate was really good.
Okay. Thank you.
Hong Yun,
Yes.
so your reading is good. You do pronounce things really well. I think you also need to use the commas for pauses, but in a different way. So for you tend to pause when there's not a comma. So maybe in the middle of a sentence, you'll add in your pause, and that can make the sentence just sound a bit too choppy. So if you can try and say it nice and clearly and fluid throughout until you hit that comma, then you can take your breathe and take a breath, and then you can continue the rest of the sentence. Other than that, it was really good.
Thank you.
Your debate was really good. You used good references for each point, so that you said that this has come from this source, and this is what the point is. And you had good flow, and your arguments were really good. You prematurely said used the word lastly, and then you spoke for another minute or so. You spoke for quite a long time and said a lot more points. Just hold back on that lastly until you get to your final point. Then once you've said your final point, then you can bring in that and lastly, I'd like to explain this point. But I think really good. With a little bit more practice, you can get the flow out a lot easier. But your speech is really good. Jie,
Yes.
your reading was near enough perfect. I think you read very well. It was good to listen to. I was keeping track of the comment when the commas were coming in, whether you were taking that break. That's good to have, and you broke up the sentences clearly, and you changed your tone when necessary. It was very good. Regarding your debate, you had really good flow to the debate throughout. The use of points and a quotation, those are really good. If you can use a direct quotation from someone, that's going to strengthen your debate. You also explained a reason why you should not use the corporal punishment and gave alternative using the boundary-based discipline. That was great because that can back up your points that there is another way to go about this. This isn't the only way that someone should deal with discipline within K-12 schools. So and along with that, you explaining those points, and then clearly ending the debate itself. That was
Thank you.
Jihu.
Yes.
Your reading. Let's start with that. It was very smooth and concise and clear. That's really all I could write down because it was very good. Once again, you pause where necessary, and yeah, it was really good. During your debate, when you were bringing up some facts and points, you needed to reference it. Sort of, you needed to tell me what is so relevant. It needs to be backed up with some either scholarly reference coming from a study that says this, says that. But your speech is really good. It's clearly spoken and smooth. Good use of tone. And I think you could start using some more complex connector words instead. So instead of using the word also, try and use therefore, furthermore. On the other hand, there's a lot you could choose from. Just try and make them a bit more up the level of your speech. But really, overall, this was a really good debate from everyone. All right. Does anyone have any questions on their debate? Does anyone think they did something that I didn't quite touch on? So, okay. With that, I think I have a winner. So, the win for today, we'll have to, if this will work, we'll have to go to the negative team. So Jay and Hongyan, you guys
Thank you.
won it for today.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
No problem. So, do any of you have any questions?
No.
No.
What did you think of this topic?
It was nice.
I mean, I think I have to say it's definitely got to be easier for the negative team to come up with a debate for this. This is probably a much easier topic for the negative team than the positive team. Do you think I'd be right in saying that? Yun Sung, Jihu, did you
Yeah.
struggle to find positives for this sort of question?
Yeah.
Yeah, because today's society, this is.
Yeah.
I mean, if when I was your age and I had to do this one, I think it would be easier for me to do the positive side than the negative side because there were a lot more of this sort of punishment going on when I was younger. But now in these days you don't see it as much. So it's hard to find. But I think everyone did a really good job of this. But the negative team just take it today. Okay. All right. If there's no more questions, then I will end the session now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Thank
All right.
you.
Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.